Welcome to PredWings Podcast, where Smashville and Hockeytown collide. And now your hosts, Brett and Ron White and D-Law, Dan Lawless. Welcome to PredWings Podcast, episode 92.
Getting there.
A little bit late, but round two is wrapped up. Conference finals are just starting. You can follow us on our social media, PredWings Podcast on Facebook, Discord, Instagram, and X and YouTube. We're at PredWings Pod, and don't forget to listen and follow us on Podbean. And our email is PredWingsPodcast@gmail.com. I didn't play in any games. Actually, I think I did play. I did play last week, I believe. I think, or did I not? I don't remember now.
Did you remain upright?
I think I played. Was it last week I played, or was it week before? No, I don't remember. They're all blending in together.
Did you remain upright?
All I know is I was like Soros. Well, for two of it, for at least in the beginning and the end. The beginning, I was terrible. Then I kind of settled in. I was making some great saves, playing really good. And then the last part, I did my inner Soros and couldn't save anything. Maybe it's my jersey. It is a Soros jersey. The Predators, it's a practice jersey from the Stanley Cup final year that he wore. He was actually a backup then. So, but. It was a morning skate jersey that he had worn I think it was before Game 4. So maybe it's a jersey. I'm not that superstitious as far as
just like a little stitious.
As far as what jerseys I wear and getting shutouts. I have gotten shutouts with that jersey though. So I don't know. So we got round two to recap, starting with the East, unless you got anything, a little short thing, anything going before we jump into
No, just busier than hell with work. And like you said, D-Law, I got to find a way to slow down.
Our podcast is starting to wind down, probably, there's a conference finals now. Then we got the Stanley Cup finals, and then probably maybe one show in the summer, maybe two, I don't know. Just like last year, but so round two, let's just do the Eastern Conference first, since we've been starting with Eastern. Before that, the Rangers not the Eastern Rangers, the Rangers in Carolina. That series went longer than I expected, actually. Oh, series going off on their own. I don't know what the heck. So,
that was interesting.
I swear, Siri wants to jump in on our podcast because I think that's the second time that's happened in our shows. But anyway, did that go 6 games or 7? No, I think it went 6.
Did go game 6.
Rangers were just too strong in game 6. So, the Rangers won the series in 6. That was a really good series. I don't know if you have anything to add to that series. All I know is it was
the Rangers are going to win it.
Very enjoying the series, and
I knew that.
Game 6, I just thought, Carolina they pushed, but the Rangers were just too strong.
Yeah, the Rangers are a good team.
They ended up winning 5-3, but you can't fault, they had those 4 goals in the third period, but, Carolina came out hot in the first period and only gave them only allowed 3 shots. So they did what they needed to do until the third period, and, they had the game tied going into the third period. Actually, no, they were losing 3-1. Carolina had a 3-1 lead, and I guess they're champion. They're not champions yet, although they are. They're not even Eastern Conference champions, but they got that championship pedigree, if you want to call it that, and third period is where it happens. Chris Kreider had the natty hattie in the third period. Kind of interesting. They had, I guess, his neighbors had threw a bunch of hats out on his lawn, and he was out there picking them up, and I think he donated them, or I believe, or something. But it was just, and he's a very private person, so it was just nice to see, that they're really embracing the Rangers and everything. But so the Rangers are just too strong, so they moved to the Eastern Final, the Florida Boston series. Florida actually, they had a chance to win it in five, but Boston ended up winning the game five and forced it back to Boston. But Florida managed to win in game six.
Yeah, Florida's also. They've been playing strong all year. When you look at Florida, I can't believe that Tkachuk is actually leading the team. He's doing a fantastic job with them. I don't want to give away too much, but he's just continuing to score goals and finding a way to get the puck. And obviously, he's not afraid to get into those gritty areas in the offensive zone, and he's just making it happen. And this team believes in him. This team believes in itself. They believe in each other, and they just continue to get stronger as each series goes on. And I think they have a good chance of making it, to the Stanley Cup if they play the way that they finished Boston off.
Yeah, in that game six, Boston started out first, which they, as expected, up against the ropes, if you want to call it that. They got on the board first, and Florida kept battling back, and it's their depth. Anton Lundell and Gustav Forsling, who had the game winner. That was only their second goal of the playoffs. You think of the Tkachuks, and he's got 10 assists. His 10th assist was on the Forsling goal, but Verhaeghe, I guess I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got the depth, and then Bobrovsky was, he gave up that goal, and it really wasn't. It wasn't really his fault, but he only gave up one goal in that game. The power plays, I guess it's the playoffs. It's hard to score on the power play. It's why when we go to Edmonton, the Western Conference, we'll talk about that a little. Boston and Florida, they didn't score on the power play in this game. Florida was over 3 and Boston was over 2. So the penalty killing, defense and everything in the playoffs, but probably hurt Boston more. I know Florida had 3 more chances, 1 more chance. Boston, they could have used those 2 power plays to try to force a game 7, but Florida was just too strong. So they, now they got the Eastern Final set as the Rangers in Florida. And it's
I think the Rangers are going to have their work cut out for them. Like I said, after watching that last Boston game, and Boston didn't just roll over and die necessarily in that game. Florida was just that much better. They're bigger, they were stronger, they were faster, they were more physical. And if they bring that to New York, I think this is going to be a great series. I think this is going to be a really, really good series. I think it's going to be fun. I bet you'll see close games and a lot of hitting.
I'm thinking, I don't know. I haven't really seen much. I don't know what the lines are, everything, but I'm thinking. I'm under the impression the Rangers are a heavy favorite, and I'm thinking it's going to be there. I don't know if I'm not really hearing if it's going to be a short series, but it's probably at least 6 games.
I think it could go all 7.
It's really hard to pick. I know on the official bracket challenge, I picked the Rangers to win it all.
Yeah, I think I did.
I'm not going to go into the picks just yet. We still got the Western Conference, but that East Final is starting right now, and it's after the first period. Florida actually has a 1-0 lead. So,
and who scored it?
I actually hadn't seen
Matthew Tkachuk.
Okay, so
Like he just continues to find ways to put this team on his back, and as much as you hate him on the ice, like
I
everyone
don't.
was saying, like, oh, you would rather have Marchand on your team. Like you'd never have an issue with him. Like I would take Chuck over Marchand. I just love the way he plays the game.
That was actually his 5th goal, but he's got those. No, when I say 10 assists, he
Yeah, he
got 10
does. But I
assists.
mean, just his
So,
presence out there, like people
and
know he's on the ice.
Forsling and Verhaeg, which I just mentioned in the against the Game 6 Boston series, that they assisted on it. So I didn't really see the goal. It must have just happened. Posted on that. So the Western Conference round 2, Dallas, Colorado, and by the way, your picks for the Rangers, and actually we were both right on the Rangers, Carolina, Florida, Boston, and you're 6-0. Picking the East so far, so and only one was I had picked Islanders. I don't know why.
Well,
But
this is the one that's going to throw me off because I'm not quite sure who I want to go with on this one.
we got a little bit of time, so kind of sit back and really think. The Dallas, Colorado. I know you would pick Colorado, but I remember. I think last show you said that you kind of thought Dallas would win, even though you picked Colorado. Dallas ended up taking it. That was 6 games they did in Colorado, and that's kind of surprising because I mean Dallas did win Game 2 at home. That was the only home game they won, and they won the 3 road games, and I guess that's what you have to do in the playoffs. I mean, even if you have home ice advantage, you have to win.
I always feel like I was always happy like when the Detroit would be in the playoffs. Just split on the road.
If you have home ice, you have to win at least 1 on the road. Obviously, if you're Colorado and you don't have home ice, you have to win probably 2 or 3 road games, and they didn't. They did. They won 2 of them, but they. And they took them hard too. That 6-game win to double overtime, was kind of wondering if that was ever if we were gonna get a goal. The first overtime I was watching this game and just I remember thinking that whole game. The fans were all booing Duchesne, which I don't understand. I mean, he might have had something going on in this series. I don't know if it was that one was there one that was a goal that they didn't call back, or there was a hit, or something that he did. But he was a Colorado Avalanche for many years. He was drafted by them, and they're booing him. And I just remember saying it would be kind of fitting for him to score. And who scores the goal in the second overtime?
Spill it.
Matt Duchesne. Which, I mean, I like him, even though he's on Dallas. I know he was a Predator. I kind of hate him when they got rid of him, but I think they needed to move on from him. It would be nice to see him, I think he's already had a cup. I don't remember. I don't remember if Colorado won the cup when he was there before he left. If he didn't, then he does not have a cup. I don't remember when he left Colorado, what year it was. Because I know he went to Iowa, Columbus. I think he went to, or did he just go to Columbus? Maybe he didn't play for Ottawa, but I think he did. That was another great series between Dallas and Colorado. Very tight. Other than that first game, actually they were all tight. I was thinking it was just previous series. Game 5 was 2-goal lead, but I think that was. I think there was an empty net goal involved in that one.
No Stanley Cups.
Okay, so he doesn't have a Stanley Cup. Okay, so Colorado must not have been that good when he was there. When did he leave Colorado anyway?
Well, he came into Colorado 2009, 2010. He played for 3 seasons. Then he went to Frölunda, and then he played for Ambry Piata Hockey Club. And then he came back to Colorado in 2013 or 2012 all those were in 2012-13. I don't know if he was injured and just getting some ice time, or maybe that was during the off season. But then he played with Colorado all the way till 18, and then he was with the Senators for 2 years, Columbus for a year, and then over to Nashville.
Okay. All right, so he was only with Columbus for 1, okay? Because I know he was with. Okay, so he did go to Ottawa then. Was that a trade from Ottawa or was it a free agent? Because I'm pretty sure. Oh no, that's right. Nashville picked. He must have signed the 1 year in Columbus, and then Nashville signed him as a free agent. I remember that now. He was a big free agent signing in that year. But it's been a tight series. Other than Game 4, Dallas had won. They had a four goal lead, or 1-4, but. Other than that, there was 3 goals. So, but that Game 6 was just like I said. I was like, is this thing gonna go 3-4 overtimes? And then I was like, somebody score. I don't care who, because I'm like, it's just like 2:00 in the morning, and I was like, I need to get to bed. So Dallas moves on, and they actually had to wait a little bit for the Vancouver Edmonton series, which that really it was actually kind of surprising. Well, I guess not. I mean, it did go Game 7. Vancouver did have 2 chances before Game 7 to win. Actually, no, Vancouver won Game 5, so they had a chance to win Game 6. And then Edmonton just was too strong in the second period. And then, of course, I think, they were calling all kinds of penalties on Vancouver in that game. On
they have to protect their investment.
Yeah, who. And I think it was Game 7. There was a couple times when, and the announcers even mentioned he you could see him do a Superman. He actually kind of died. He took a dive, and he didn't get a call. They didn't give. I don't believe they called penalty on that one, but you could see him just it looked like he was jumping off a diving board, and I just he doesn't need to do that. I mean, he's going to get the calls anyway, and of course, the rest are going to call embellishment, and they have been calling a lot of embellishment this playoff. So I think they're kind of cracking down on that. But
yeah, everything matters. I mean, I don't know. The officiating's still not the greatest.
I'm a believer in. A penalty is a penalty, whether it's regular season or playoffs. You call them in the regular season, you call them in the playoffs. I don't care if it's a meaningless game in Game 1 of the season or Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. I mean, obviously, you got, kind of in the gray line where maybe, but I mean, if you get a stick on them, trip or hook or, the roughings and the cross checks are obviously penalties, and if you extend your arms. But that's another thing with cross checks is you can cross check them, but but as long as you don't, if you extend your arms, it's a penalty because that's what the cross check is. But I don't know. But I don't want to get off on a rant on that. But as far as the embellishing, I don't know. I just sometimes they're clear as day that it's a dive, and I know refs don't like that because it shows them up, and they need to call those. But they need to call. I can kind of understand. They just need to be consistent, on both teams, because obviously it happens, and obviously you miss things, but these refs are most of them are been doing it for NHL for quite a while, and they're professionals, and they know, but they are human, so they do miss things, and they're actually supposed to look at the play. Maybe, I mean, obviously linesmen can't call penalties, but maybe I don't know how that would work because you can't just, the linesmen can't call penalties and they're doing their thing and they're not usually close to the refs. I don't know, they can't just like if they see something and then the play and they can't blow it dead because they can't call penalties. And I don't want the linesmen, that would slow down the game a lot more. So how do you? I don't know how they answer. If the linesman see something, what are they gonna? Would they yell to the ref, or how would they? Because if the ref doesn't see it, but the linesman can't act as her. So I don't. That's another thing. I don't. How is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you can't call, and then you'll have the coaches. You didn't see it. That's not a penalty. The linesman can't. So I don't.
I think it just leaves too much up for debate. Like I think the game would slow way down if you let them whistle things down.
Yeah, and linesmen have their own. They got to dodge bucks, and I don't know how many times I've seen a linesman you have to duck to get, or they get hit in the head with a puck, or some linesmen did have gotten hit in the head with a puck, but it just, I don't know. I mean, it's the refereeing has just been. I mean, it's been better than it has in some years, but in some case it hasn't been. So I don't, I just,
Yeah,
I don't.
at this point.
I guess you just gotta, let them play more. But then, like I mentioned, penalty is a penalty. So I mean, obviously the clear cut penalties are going to be called.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't seem to be calling them in the second overtime. They of the Dallas Colorado game, they seem to let a lot go, and Dallas by right, Colorado should have had a couple power plays in that overtime because there was a couple trips, but I guess you just gotta watch them and just hope see what pretty much let them play, but so Edmonton ended up winning Game 7. What was the final score in the Game 7? It was like 3-2. They had a 3-0 lead. I remember I shut it off early because Edmonton was just dominating. They held Vancouver to 2 shots and go in the first period. But Vancouver actually came back in the third, just a little bit too late. They actually flipped the skill. They only had 5 shots, but they held Edmonton to 2. I
got to point something out here, D-Law, really quick. Do you know that Edmonton? This just shows you how strong Edmonton is. Do you realize that Edmonton has the top 4 point leaders in the postseason? Leon Draisaitl, 24 points. Connor McDavid, 21 points. Bouchard, 20 points. And Nugent Hopkins, 16 points.
I wonder how many power play goals, because they actually were only 50% in this game, in the Game 7.
Draisaitl has 6 power play goals. Ryan Nugent Hopkins, he's got 2.
I wonder how many power plays total they've had. That's 8 power play goals. It seems like they got more than that.
Let's see here.
And
Evan Bouchard, he's got 1, and Connor McDavid also has 1. I mean, this team is stacked. I mean, if this team wins the Stanley Cup this year, it would not surprise me. It only took Bettman trying for how many years has McDavid been in the league to get him there? But they got there. They have a really good chance. They do.
Well, they have how many number 1 picks too. I didn't see the third period because it didn't look like Vancouver's through the second period when Edmonton scored that third goal on the power play to take a 3-0 lead. It just looked like it was over. Vancouver didn't seem like they had any life going. The crowd was kind of dead, but I don't know if it was Vancouver in the third period that was just forcing to play, or Edmonton was on their heels. They only had 2 shots. Maybe they were just kind of like sitting back in defensive mode. It just doesn't seem like Edmonton's that kind of a team. Edmonton seems like the kind of team that's like an offensive team that's it's always in the offensive zone and
I agree.
like that. So I don't know. I didn't see the third period, so I don't know. And the shots were pretty low at South 5-2. Vancouver did score 2 goals on those 5 shots. Maybe I don't know, a lot of block shots. Maybe Edmonton had 21 block shots. So I'm thinking a lot of those were probably in the third period. Maybe the first. I wasn't sure how many they had block shots in the first, but they just and that's another thing. They're blocking their shots. I don't know if it's they don't have faith in their goaltending, or they just that's what you do in the playoffs. So Edmonton, they won Game 7, so it's going to be Dallas Edmonton. That series starts up on Thursday in Dallas. So I guess we can move into our finals picks.
Yeah.
As much as I don't want to, I'm going to have to pick Edmonton. I just don't think Dallas has a shot.
I agree with you. I'm going to the same thing on
Game 1, Dallas has to come out if they have any chance. I know they have a little bit of a layoff, more than Edmonton.
They got to punch him in the mouth.
I just don't. I don't know. I mean, just don't know how you stop Edmonton.
Oh, somebody will. I mean, they're beatable, but they're just strong and I mean they're dominating.
No, Batman. I think Batman's the only one that can beat them.
No, I mean I think Edmonton has a strong chance of winning this series just by watching how they play and realizing that they've got the top 4 scorers in the league on their point getters in the league on their team. So they're a strong team. But I do think the East can handle them, but we got to get there first. But yeah, I'm going to Edmonton.
Speaking of Edmonton, or speaking of the East, I mean, this is a tough decision. I think either one of those teams, Rangers or Florida, can win this. I know right now Florida's got a 1-0 lead, and they actually have a shot advantage. I don't really see much yet of the game. I'm gonna have to go with the Rangers just because they have home ice advantage, and they I think they had a little bit of layoff. Florida did too, so I'm thinking maybe this first period was a little bit of rust. Although I didn't really see a lot of it from a little bit that I have seen. It's a tough decision. I think it's going to be long, 6, possibly 7 games. But I just think, Florida might win Game 1. But I would not be surprised to see Rangers come out and win both games in Florida. I mean, I know obviously they got another game in New York in Game 2. Who knows, what the series is going to be like. I just think the Rangers, they want to win, and they do have a little history. The last time they won the Stanley Cup, the last time they won the President's Trophy was the same year in 1994. So, I mean, you can't argue with that. They got a lot of veterans, so that they've been there before and they've lost. They've lost just last year, I believe. Did they make it to the second round last year? I don't remember who they played, but I just think they're too much of a veteran team. They got a solid goaltender, and I mean Florida is a veteran team too. They got a top goaltender in Bobrovsky. They got the depth scoring. It's going to be a fun series. I think it's going to be a lot more fun to watch in the Western Final. A lot closer. So obviously you're a fan, you want to watch both of them. But if you could only watch one or the other 2 finals, I would watch the East Final over the West.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida. I'm going to disagree on that one. And it's not because I don't think the Rangers can or won't win it. It's just that I think Florida has come out stronger. The past 3 games, they've come out, they got knocked down in one, and then they came right back. And like I said, the way Tkachuk is playing right now, it's going to take a Rempe to take him out. And I'm not saying that's not out of the realm, but I think that, I think that, I think Florida can pull this off. I do. I think this could be their year.
Yeah, but Kreider, he had that hat trick in Game 7, and I think he's still stepping up now, and they mentioned in his 30s he's done a lot better in regular season and playoffs than he did when he was in the 20s. So it's good, he's gotten to learn, got that veteran presence. But maybe I should go with Florida because you're 6-0 with the East. You're perfect in the East.
But here's what I am saying though, is that no matter how this game or series ends, it doesn't matter because it's not either one of our teams, but either one of these teams, if you said, hey, the Rangers won this, it wouldn't surprise me. If you said, hey, Florida won this, it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm going to go with Florida. I like the way they've been playing. I like their game. They play physical, they play fast, and they bring a lot of offense. So yeah, I'm sticking with Florida. You're not changing me. I'm sticking Florida.
I'm probably the one that should be changing, but
this is a toss-up. This one really is a toss-up.
It's a coin flip, I guess. So next week we'll see how these conference finals are shaping up, and maybe surprise, maybe not. But the Predators had made a little news. Actually, before we get into that, I remember I had mentioned last week as far as Colorado, what their home record was. They were so dominant in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, Dallas won, I believe, all their road games. Colorado was 31-9-1 at home in the regular season, but that's regular season is totally different with the playoffs. So. But getting back to the Predators, they made a big move. They traded Ryan McDonagh back to Tampa Bay, along with a 4th-round pick, which was Edmonton's pick. I think that might have been part of the Ekholm trade. I'm not sure. I don't think they made a trade with him this year. But Predators got a 2nd and a 7th-round pick. Tampa Bay, I don't think where are they. Actually, that might have been a 25.
I think they got a player and 2 draft picks, and you guys got 2 draft picks, if I'm not mistaken.
They got obviously McDonagh and a 4th-round pick.
I thought they got like a 7th too. Did I read that right?
No, the Predators got the 7th. The Predators got the 7th of this year, and the 2nd-round pick is next year.
Gotcha.
Okay, so maybe Tampa Bay will finish down, but I'm thinking, Stamkos a free agent. I'm thinking they did that to possibly re-sign Stamkos because they're really good friends. McDonagh and Stamkos are really good friends. So, and maybe he didn't. Maybe I heard that McDonagh was trying to recruit him, but maybe I guess Stamkos maybe he wanted to. I don't know all the details, but I'm thinking maybe he didn't want to go to Nashville. Maybe they just traded. Maybe Tampa Bay wanted him to try to so they obviously keep Stamkos, which I think they're playing. I think they're going to end up re-signing him anyway. It's a big loss for the Predators, but he's 33 years old, so he's getting towards the end of his year. Predators are trying to get younger, faster. They want to get some high offense scoring, And obviously, I mean, yes, defensemen can, but they got some decent defensemen. But I just think that you gotta, kind of let him go. And this is Trotz. He's in to get two picks. Second, seventh round. You never know. I mean, they could be hit or miss. You never know. I mean, I think Detroit had a really good seventh round pick. Seventh round pick. That's the last round. I think it used to go 8 or 9 rounds, but now 7 is the final round. I'm not too concerned about that pick. They might actually end up trading that pick to go up. Maybe I don't see that happening. It's not like football. Second round pick next year. I don't know what the draft class is going to be like next year. I don't know what Tampa Bay is going to be like next year. But in any case, it's obviously going to be a young player, and that's going to help out the Predators even more. And obviously, the Predators have really good. They're sitting really good with the as far as the salary cap this year, so they can go out and sign somebody, a scorer. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, but that's all. That's really all the news that we got for the Predators.
Did you hear? I'm gonna go into some NHL type news. What are your thoughts on Marchand's comments about intentionally trying to hurt other players on the other team in the playoffs? What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't heard anything about that, but I don't think players are going to do that just because they know that they could be the one targeted. If they do something like that, they could be the one, and they got to pay back.
I could see it though.
I couldn't if it's in the heat of the moment, but to go out and I don't know. I just don't. I think there's too much.
I think there's enough respect in the game.
Yeah, and unless maybe you're Marchand, I think he would do something like that. Maybe not.
I could see it though. I could see it happening. I can see it because like you want that Stanley Cup in each round, like you're that much closer, and it's like, man, if I could just get rid of McDavid for at least a game or two, we might have a chance. So hey, go out there and just take a run at McDavid. Now you don't have to now you're taking one of their top threats right off the ice permanently for the game. I mean, I definitely understand it. Do I think it's right? Absolutely not. But I could definitely see it. So I'm wondering if that's something that, and I know the physicality reaches its all-time height here at playoff time, but I don't know. I wasn't sure how to react to his comments. Like, you kind of got to understand, like, it probably just happens.
When did he say that? Was that like
I want to say
right after the game?
7.
So he didn't really have time. It wasn't after the season. It was like kind of like it was still in the heat of the moment. Maybe I'm thinking he probably kind of now. If you would ask him today, right now, he would probably sit back and think, I probably shouldn't have said that. It was just something in heat moment. But then again, there are probably other players. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not going to mention any players because I obviously don't know. There could be some players that are playing right now that would do that. I don't know. But I think for the most part, players aren't going to do that just because they know. I know they kind of all but outlawed fighting, but you're going to have to answer if you do something like that.
Sure.
Players know. Whether at any level, players know if a guy is taking a run at them, intentionally trying to injure somebody. They know. They've been around the game for so long that they know that he's there's accidents, there's checks, things happen. But then, if you see a player doing that and you can tell if it's intentional, if he's trying to like the slew foots or whatever, cross check him in the head, which that's another issue. But I I think for the most part, players that wouldn't do that because they for one, they'd have to answer the call,
Right.
and it probably wouldn't be the guy that they took out. It would probably be their. Now they don't have goons anymore, but something like that. And two, you don't know if that they're going to do that to you. I mean, you might not be their star player, but who's to say they aren't going to try to take you out intentionally because you tried to take out their star, or maybe it wasn't a star you tried to take out. Maybe it was a role player or somebody. I just don't see that. Or goalie. I'm sure there's players intentionally try to take out the goalie if they can't beat them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was kind of torn by the comment because I wasn't like, wow, why would he say that? But I mean, at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of like an unwritten rule, maybe. But I don't know.
And I mean that
It'd be tough not to, but I mean, I understand where he's coming from. I mean, you gotta understand it. You don't have to agree with it, but you probably understand it. You just don't agree with it.
I wonder what Jack, he obviously Jack Edwards is retired. I wonder if that's something that he would. I wonder how he would respond to that comment, or I wouldn't be surprised if he would even say something like that.
He would hop on the bandwagon. He would agree with him, say Marchand's right. I mean, of course. I mean, that's just how he operates, anyways.
But that was a pretty good hot topic. But I know we kind of got away. We're trying to get a hot topic every show since, I don't know, maybe not season 1, season 2. As of late, as far as the icing race, I think they just started that a few years ago. As far as if you beat the player that's closest to the puck, as obvious, or the stick, obviously, they consider the stick close. If you reach out your stick, if you're closer, it'll be waved off or not, depending on who the player is. I don't know why they did that. I'm thinking, I thought it was to curb injuries, or to speed up the game. But I'm wondering, should that be eliminated? Because I don't think they put that rule, winning the race to the ice, to stop injuries, because that would create injury opportunities. Because especially in the playoffs, I mean, the regular season, they kind of like, yeah, who cares? It's icing or whatever. I'm not gonna chase them down. It's icing. It's icing. We'll just have to, just win the face off and get it out. But in the playoffs, everything's obviously magnified, and they're gonna. They're racing down, trying to get to there first, trying to get the puck first. If not, beat out the ice, and they're trying to get the puck. And it creates an injury opportunity. Whether either one of those players could get checked into the boards, they could lose an edge and go flying into the boards, break a leg, they could go just and anything could happen. So I just don't think. I mean, yeah, it might be kind of boring to see all day just toss the ice down and get the you're getting under pressure, and the team under pressure whips it down the ice, and then there's icing and it slows the game down, and then they got to take. But I mean, I obviously I don't want I like the fact that the team that ices the puck can't change. I like that. That is a deterrent in itself, right there. But I just don't think. I think the rate and they're trying to create, they're trying to stop injuries. Obviously, that was high hits and stuff like that. And to me, that by having the let them race to, I mean, yeah, it is exciting. And I know they're really good skaters, but it just players lose an edge, or they're getting they're physical. They might go on the boards. Maybe the goalie the goalie might not come out, because if it's going to be an icing, he'll stay in the net. but I just don't think it'll it'll stop potential injuries and the safety of the game. Yeah, it might slow the game down, but it is what it is, and you know obviously you can't have different rules for the regular season and playoffs because we talked about that last show or a couple of shows ago about the salary cap. So you got to, and it could be just as relevant in the regular season because if you do that in the regular season and they get injured and then you lose half the season because of a freak accident like that. So I don't, I guess I should, let you in on this discussion because I'm talking too much.
No, I've added all I've got to add, so I'm good.
Would you want to see that be eliminated, or would you want to see that stay as far as racing to beat out icing?
Well, of course I want to see it. I want to see it stay because
Even
it's
even if
strategic. Yeah,
even if Larkin or Sider get injured and
yeah,
could be injured for half the season,
yep, I do.
and then your season could be over because your best player is out.
It could be, but yeah, I do. I do like it, and the
I
players
mean,
all like it. I understand where your point is, but my point is that I wanna, I got to get down there and beat the icing because I'm exhausted and I want to get off the ice. Because now you've got a fresh set of legs out there. It's a 2-2 game with a minute 30 left in the third period of game 7, and now all of a sudden I'm going out there against, their top line, and we've got, 5 dead tired players out here. They can't move, they can't line change. So they have to try to start all over again, regroup, get the puck out, and it's like a decent strategy. So if I want to get off the ice, I got to beat that guy down the ice to negate the icing. Yeah, they got to earn it.
but then you gotta be more strategic. There's other ways to, like, you could flip the puck up in the air and then so it's not icing,
Oh,
or like
sure.
a slow roller, or beat,
I
or
know,
just
but you don't
or
always
if
get
you're
that
really
opportunity. I
or
mean,
if you're really tired and you really want to get off, beat the heck out of that other player to get to the red line. And even if I think that even if they give you, I think they give you like maybe a couple
yeah, but
feet.
that's the thing. Like, you don't always
Even
have that
if you're like
opportunity.
a
If you're
couple
getting
feet to
shelled,
the red line and you can whip it down the ice and
yeah,
then
but
hop
think about
off the
this. If
ice.
you're getting shelled with shots and they're just dominating the play, you're not going to be able, like, you're not, I almost guarantee it, and I could be wrong, but to have a free opportunity to just flip the puck down the ice without anybody on you, you can line it up for a slow roller. No, these guys are just trying to get the puck out, and the obvious, effort is to not have an icing, is to flip it up. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And I think it's advantageous for the offense who is putting on the pressure. I mean, in a way, it's almost like the goalie flipping his mask off and getting the whistle.
Oh, that one, that should be that's another issue that we could
But I
talk
mean,
about
that's what
another time.
I'm
But
saying.
as
Like,
far as but there's another thing. The goalie could smother the puck. I mean, if they're getting bombarded, the goalie needs to somehow make that smother it in his body or cover
absorb
it
the puck
instead of
and
letting
freeze the
rebounds.
puck.
So I mean, I could see that story, and it does make the game more interesting in some aspects, but I'm looking at it as for the point of safety. You don't want these. Obviously, I don't know. I don't really think it's the star players that are actually chasing down the puck for the icing. I think it's like I don't see the McDavid's doing that. I think it's like the second, third line players that would be doing, you know.
No, I mean, anybody can do it.
But
It all
but but
depends on the.
but I just don't think. I'm looking at it for the safety aspect of the game. I don't know if it's because I was just injured, just a few months ago in hockey thing. So I'm looking at the game more as a safety aspect of it, or at the end of the day, it's a game. I know the NHL is a different story because they're making millions and they're playing for the cup and everything, and I don't know what that's like because I obviously I've never been in that situation, and I never will be, frankly. But I'm looking at it more from the safety aspect of it, or I
I
just
mean, at some point, we're either going to play hockey or we're not going to play hockey.
or
If we
maybe
keep tailoring all the rules and changing them and this and that, I mean, we're either going to play hockey or why bother?
that's true. Like like they're doing with fighting. I mean,
It happens.
they're
You gotta let
taking
it happen.
they're
It happens.
that's another topic for maybe next season. But I'm sure they're gonna get rid of hockey or fighting in the next 5 years because it's pretty much almost. I mean, there have been 1, 2 fights this playoffs that I've seen.
Yeah, that's more than you usually see.
And it usually playoff series. I mean, I remember Colorado Detroit playoff series. There's one game where it was all fights. That might have been boiled over from the turtle incident too, but or maybe that was
to be honest, I don't recall Detroit having fights in the playoffs. Like, there's quite opposite, to be honest. And I would always get upset. Like, well, wait a second. They just took a run at Eiserman. Like, what are you doing? And they take note. And they throw their cheap shot in there and throw some wax and face washes. But it's just not worth the penalty. It's just not worth it. I mean, you see fast physical hockey, but I mean, maybe I just don't watch every game. Like, but I feel like this year it's been a little bit. I feel like there's been more fighting this year than I've seen in a while, and I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, the game has gotten faster and seems like more skill. Like, I mean, like the players now, especially the younger players, tend to be more skilled players like than they used to be. I think that's just the way it's going right now.
Look, just out of curiosity, speaking of all this, because it's gonna connect with what I'm about to say, but and I've said it before, but Rempe, I think, has an opportunity to create, the enforcers back. Nope, he's not in the lineup tonight.
I mean, he's one of those players where kind of hate him or you like him, and I'm kind of like, I kind of hate that, because as far as like,
Let him eat.
The people are talking about how he's
Listen, what if he
dirty
comes
or
in,
cheap.
what if he comes in and
But
throws a
I mean,
nasty check on Forsberg and Forsberg gets injured?
I haven't seen. I mean, I don't
What's the
really.
answer?
I just. I mean, I'd have to see. It depends on the situation.
He comes across and just lays a monster hit on Forsberg and injures him.
Is his head
What's
down?
the response?
I mean, well, right now they don't really.
Matters.
They don't really have any
star player.
They don't really have anybody that could really match up with him well.
I mean, you guys led the NHL in fights. You don't have anyone that could match
well,
toe-to-toe with him?
I don't think they could beat him.
Okay. So what would the answer be to that come the next season?
Hit him. Pick your spot.
You find somebody that can match fire with fire. As you bring in somebody that's going to play against Rempe, now all of a sudden you throw them out there against Detroit, let's say. Well, now Detroit's going to be forced to do something themselves. So now you've got Detroit, Nashville, and the Rangers, and you've got Toronto obviously with Reeves. So I mean now you're starting to get guys back, but it's going to take these big guys getting ice time and laying these other players out and having no response. And I think it's kind of happening because I mean, just for shoots and giggles, look at Connor Bedard. The kid was ragdolled and nobody did anything. Chicago's going to have to bring in somebody, and now you've got a guy like Rempe floating around the league that's going to pick his his spots. Now you got to have somebody on Chicago to protect your asset from a guy like Rempe. So now Chicago is going to be forced to bring in a big guy. I'd be surprised if they don't bring somebody in the offseason to protect Bedard. Bedard's going to have a not a very strong career, because look at all of the. I mean, look at the protection for the stars in the league. Yzerman had Koser. He had McCarty. He had Probert. You look at Gretzky. He had McSorley. You look at even nowadays, you've got Evander Kane. They had Lucic for a while over in Edmonton protecting McDavid. Toronto brought in Leeds, and look at the season that Austin Matthews continues to have. These guys are protected out there, and I'm not saying Connor Bedard can't have a season like that. I mean, he came in with better stats than Connor McDavid did. So, I mean, the kid can play hockey, and I think he can play at a very high level. But when you have nobody to protect you, and you're taking shots the way that he's taking them all year long, yeah, I mean, you're not going to get the full potential out of the kid. They got to bring somebody in. But that just goes into feeding to what I'm saying is now you've got to fight fire with fire. So now you've got Chicago, you've got Toronto, you've got New York Rangers, and then in our scenario, you've got Detroit and Nashville. I mean, everybody plays each other. So what are you going to do now that, a fraction of the league has a guy that can, come out and change the game again?
Well, I mean, that was also, that's a fail on the Chicago management. I mean, they know they obviously they knew they're going to draft Bedard. They picked the number one. They could have got somebody in the draft. They had all last off season to sign that one guy, and there was probably a few that were available. I don't know if Reeves was available, free agent that last summer. They could have signed him. I mean, obviously Chicago is they're in a rebuild, and nobody really wanted to go there, but because they were terrible. But they needed to bring somebody in. Somebody would have, that could to protect them, and they didn't do that. They might have had a protector for them, but I don't know. See, I don't know Chicago, so I don't know who they had on the roster at all. But I would put that as a management fail, because they knew that was their guy. For one, they could have either drafted somebody because they had plenty of picks and they had a high pick, obviously, and could have got somebody next. I mean, obviously, you're not going to want to waste a pick on somebody like that, but they had the whole off season to get somebody in and to protect them, or to not necessarily protect them, to put out there so the teams would be like, wait a minute, if I touch him, maybe I better not, because they got him over, they got Reeves over there, he's gonna beat the living crap out of me, so maybe I better not touch him, or I don't know. That's just obviously, just to use that for an example. But I just think, Chicago had the opportunity last off season, to bring in somebody to protect them, and that knowing that he was going to be in the lineup, because obviously that was a no brainer. He was gonna play. They had nobody else. He was their man.
Yeah, I think we exhausted that topic.
So I think moving on to we got some last week we were talking about the AHL, how
nail biter.
Grand Rapids, they were waiting for Milwaukee. I don't know how they were waiting, because Milwaukee had a bye week or bye series. So the Milwaukee and Grand Rapids, took the first game, but the second game, Milwaukee actually won that game, so it's a tied series going in. The Admirals had a lead, Igor Afanasyev, but then the Griffins tied it up, and then Afanasyev actually has 2 goals in this game. They actually had a 2-1 lead, but then Austin Sarznick
They had
tied
William
the game.
Wallander got the first goal, and then Austin Zarnik got a late third period goal.
He tied the game,
tied it.
and Askarov is playing in net. He
So
started,
Kosa.
and so we're going to overtime. So it's a big game because the winner will take a 2-1 lead. I don't want to get too much into the AHL as far as other than Milwaukee and Grand Rapids, but Hershey's got that. Actually, looks like Hershey won 4-1, so they won the series, and that's the other thing. These are 5-game series instead of 7. So Hershey beat Hartford 3-0, so they will go to the Eastern Conference Final, which they won the Cup last year, Coachella Valley. Hershey belongs to Washington, and looks like Cleveland came away with a 6-4 win, so they swept the Crunch, who beat the Amherst, which some pretty bad fishing as far as I heard. So
it's horrible.
Cleveland.
Horrible.
So Cleveland ended up sweeping that series. So it's going to be Hershey and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. Coachella Valley, who is Seattle, they swept Ontario Reign, which is the Kings system. They're waiting now for the Grand Rapids and Milwaukee series. Now, being a Nashville fan and Admirals, I mean, I really, really hope that they can get the win, get series win. It's a 5-game series, so 3 games. It takes 3 games or 3 wins to win the series. So this game is huge, going to overtime. But Coachella Valley made it to Stanley Cup or the Calder Cup Finals last year. They actually, I think it was a 6 or 7 games. They end up losing to Hershey. I think they're going to end up winning. I mean, maybe Grand Rapids can beat them, but I just think Coachella Valley's been too strong in the last couple of years. So I think it doesn't matter who they face in the Western Conference Finals. I think they're going to end up going to the Calder Cup Finals again. So maybe they can win. I don't know how Ontario. I don't really pay attention to a lot of AHL other than Milwaukee or the Amherst, which I really can't say I follow the Amherst too closely. But actually, looking at the Coachella Valley, they have a head coach, Dan Bilesma, who is an NHL coach or was a NHL coach. I believe he coached for the Penguins and the Sabres, I believe, one time. So he's a head coach, and Troy Bodie, I think he was a player. Troy Bodie, I don't.
You're saying names I have no idea.
It seems to me that name sounds familiar. He is their vice president of hockey operations, so they're pretty. That's Coachella Valley's coaching staff, so I don't really see any really eye-popping names on Coachella Valley. Looks like they might be a lot of young players. They are Seattle's farm team, but maybe they've been really good for the last few years. And I mean, I know Seattle had some pretty good injuries this past season, but I just don't understand how they can be their AHL team can be so good and they not, because I mean, obviously these players might not be NHL ready. So obviously it could be a different reason, but I just don't think no matter, I really would. I mean, obviously I want the Admirals to beat the Griffins just because they're the Predators, but
of course,
whoever wins, I mean, Kosa might be a really good goalie, Askarov.
They're both really good goalies.
And the Admirals have played both. They've played Grosnick and last series, and then Askarov came in. Actually, I believe Grosnick played the game 1 of the Griffins Admiral series, and then they put in Askarov for game 2. But I just don't see either one of those teams. I could be wrong, but I just don't see Coachella Valley's have been strong. So, and it might be Hershey again. Who knows? And that's Cleveland. Cleveland, I believe, belongs to Columbus now, At one time they were Colorado. Cleveland is now Columbus. Hershey is Washington. And obviously Hartford is the Rangers, which, I mean, that's probably don't have any. They probably wouldn't have anybody down from the Rangers anyway. Even if the Rangers were not still in the playoffs, they probably wouldn't suck because the Rangers got a veteran team. Syracuse was Tampa Bay, or is Tampa Bay. They did have a couple of Tampa players, but I just think, as far as the Griffins and the Admirals, they don't really have a lot of players from Predators. Parson really hasn't played much in the Predators this year. He's doing pretty decent in the playoffs. So they didn't really send very many. Tomasino, that's another thing about Tomasino. So apparently he's not in favor with Brunette. So I don't know what his future is going to be in Nashville. I think Bruno needs to get over it, whatever this thing is. I don't know. Maybe Tomasino doesn't have it. Doesn't have it. Maybe it is time to move him. Maybe get something for him, draft pick or something. I think he does have a little bit of promise, but maybe he's that type of player that's really good in the AHL, but not the NHL. Zach LaRue, he's been really good in the playoffs, so I wouldn't mind seeing him. Maybe he'll get a chance early in the season for the Predators. Afanasyev starting to kick up, but I mean, as far as any Predators players, obviously, the NHL team, they lose the playoffs and they send all their players down to the AHL to try to stack the team. The Predators really aren't doing that. Stastny, he's seen a few games in Nashville, but for the most part, they're just players that have been in Milwaukee pretty much the whole season. I'm not sure if that's the case with the Griffins. I'm thinking it probably is the same case.
No, I mean, it was pretty much the same. I mean, we had Zach Austin Reese was up there for a little bit of a stint. Austin Zarnik was up there for a little bit of a stint. Bergeron came up for a few games. But then, then we definitely had, actually Michael Hutchinson, the goalie, he played a game or two up there. But I think Detroit did pretty much the same thing you guys did.
All right, so that about wraps up our NHL update. Still no score, still 2-2 in overtime. I think there's 15-20 remaining, it looks like.
Yep.
So next show, hopefully on Sunday, which I know we've been saying the last couple of weeks. Let's see. What is the next game? I think it's Friday. There's a game back in Grand Rapids, and then it shifts back to Milwaukee. I think that's Game 5 on Sunday. So we could have a winner, a series winner for our next show. So, but as far as the playoffs, we'll still be going on. The third period for the Rangers in Florida can start in about 3 minutes. And talk about breaking news. Milwaukee, let's see, 2-2. Who scored? It doesn't say who scored it.
Yeah, Milwaukee just won it. I didn't even look. I rage quitted it.
Okay, so they have a 2-1 series lead, but they're still in Grand Rapids for the next game. So it's not over by any means. It's not. There it goes. Looks like Afanasyev with the hat trick. So that's only his fourth goal.
Looks like the Griffins should just take him out at the knees and.
What were you saying?
Showed up.
What were you saying earlier? Oh, Zach LaRue got a diving call in the third period. He doesn't do that. Wait a minute. They called See, that's another thing. Oh, I don't want to get on this topic. We're about ready to wrap up. Zach LaRue, they call him for diving, and they called Jonathan Berggren. I always thought his name was Jonathan. It's Jonathan.
Jonathan.
How come I thought it was Jonathan?
Or Jonathan. Or
Oh,
Johnny
maybe is he Swedish or something?
Yes.
Oh, maybe that's why. So he's actually probably is actually Jonathan, but in Sweden they call it Jonathan. I don't know, maybe not. But anyway, he got a cross check. They call it a cross check and dive at the same time. And I don't. I mean, that happens in NHL. I mean,
what I hate about it.
It's one or the other.
If the stick is going to be horizontal, and you're going to call it no.
I mean,
people horizontal stick each other in the back quite a bit. Little pokes, in front of the net. But if somebody dives doing that, then it's definitely not a cross checking. Now I could see like a trip, like you just whack somebody in the shin, and touch them in the hand, and they fly. Like that's an embellishment to me.
I'd have to see what that play was, but I just don't think. To me, it's one or the other. You can't call both. You can't call diving, can't call cross check. And if it's a cross check, I'm good. If they extend their arms fully, that's a cross check. If they don't, if they just like a little cross check, I'm good with that. As it's not a cross check. Cross check
is not the one getting cross checked.
Well, yeah, maybe, but that's
what you're saying.
In lacrosse, that's basically there are legal cross checks in lacrosse, and I think a lot of these. I don't know if there is a correlation. I don't know. Because a lot of hockey players do play lacrosse, and I don't know if they've played lacrosse first but they're used to cross checking. But I mean, I don't know. But I totally getting off the topic. In any level, you can't call diving or embellishment and a penalty at the same time. It's one or the other. I'd have to see what this play was. I mean, it might be a diving. Looks like LaRue got unsportsmanlike conduct earlier in the game. I don't know. He must have just said, "Oh, wait a minute." Something must have happened at 10:15 because Tomasino got a holding penalty at the same time. So maybe Zach LaRue was mouthing off to the ref, saying it was not a penalty. But I mean, obviously, a hold is a hold. You can't argue a hold if it's obviously a hold is a hold. It's a penalty. But I mean, I obviously didn't see the game. Zach LaRue he's been playing really good, so maybe the Griffins got under his skin, which is, hey, good for them. They got to do what they got to do.
But they didn't win.
But as a Predators and especially Predators fan, Afanasiev is really stepping up. I mean, I know it's only his fourth goal. 3 in this game, so maybe that'll get him kickstarted, and maybe you'll see him in Nashville next year. So good development. So Adam Rose with a 2-1 series lead. It's not over yet. They're still in Grand Rapids on Friday night. Maybe they'll Griffins come back and tie the series, but. So we'll find out Sunday night when on our next show. We'll see what happens. I guess that's all I have tonight. So once again, on our social media on Facebook, Discord, Instagram, you can find us at PredWings Podcast, and on X and YouTube at PredWings Pod at PredWings Pod. And don't forget to listen and follow us on Podbean so you can get our notifications when we go live, so you can hear our live show, because a lot of times the live show is a little different than the regular published episode. And our email is predwingspodcast@gmail.com. So thanks for tuning in to the PredWings Podcast.
Good night, Hockey Town.
See ya, Smashville.
They have to protect their investment.